Welcome to Haltech Elite NSP Training Part 67. In this training tutorial, we're going to be exploring the basics of boost control. We need to understand the fundamental of a turbocharger, a wastegate, and how those two fit together in the boost control routine. We're going to be moving into all kinds of boost control tuning tutorials here, but we have to understand these fundamentals before we jump into doing actual programming. So that aspect, the programming, makes sense conceptually so that you understand what's going on and you can program things properly. So let's jump in here and let's learn about the basics of our boost control.
Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with the fundamentals of boost control, understanding how the boost control solenoid fits in to the turbocharger and wastegate configuration that we have with a turbocharged engine. This is not going to go into the programming in this tutorial. We will introduce turning on the boost control solenoid, and we'll also talk about routing and configuration of your vacuum lines for the solenoid based on the type of wastegate that you're dealing with. Internal wastegate, external wastegate, dual external wastegates. So there's going to be some just differences that we have to do, set up mechanical configurations based on what we're trying to work with. We'll find that the concepts that we're applying in this tutorial will carry forward into the next few tutorials talking about open loop boost control, closed loop boost control, and then also talking about electronic wastegate control. So there's all kinds of information that you have to understand before we move into doing the programming and setting up a turbo engine for boost control. So let's jump in here and let's talk about some of these fundamentals. Now, the first thing I want to discuss is a turbocharger. There's a couple key components that we need to understand with a turbocharger itself. So we're going to find, if you're looking at a turbocharger, we're going to find we have a compressor cover, we have a turbine housing, then we have the center section of the turbo. Now, inside of the compressor cover will be the actual compressor, and that's what is going to spin. It's going to generate boost pressure and flow based on how that compressor is designed. And it's going to be linked on a common shaft to the turbine wheel. The turbine wheel is found inside of our turbine housing, and that connects to the exhaust manifold. And that's going to be taking the exhaust flow, the pressure from the engine as it's discharging all the exhaust gas. It's going to be spinning that turbine wheel. So the turbine wheel is linked on a common shaft supported by bearings inside the center section of the turbocharger, and that is linked to the compressor wheel. So the faster the turbine wheel spins, the faster the compressor wheel spins, and they're going to be spun at the same ratio. We'll find as our turbine speed increases, compressor speed increases, we'll generate more boost pressure and we'll generate more flow into the engine in terms of airflow. More airflow, more horsepower, more torque. So what we're after on a turbocharger is to being able to regulate how fast that turbine wheel is being spun. Now, how does that fit in to working within the boost control? All right, let's move on here. Now, on a turbo engine, we're always going to find we have some form of an exhaust manifold. That could be a log manifold, that could be a tubular style manifold. We'll find that's going to essentially funnel the exhaust gas out of the engine, that combusted exhaust gas, and put it into that turbine housing. Between the exhaust manifold and the turbine housing, we'll either have an internal or external wastegate. So we have two different types we might be dealing with. Most OEM vehicles will come with an internal style wastegate. Aftermarket turbo kits will come with an external style wastegate. Now they have their benefits and they have their disadvantages. We'll find that, let's start off with an internal wastegate. So the internal wastegate is going to be a little bit different than an external because it's going to be mounted onto the turbocharger itself. We'll find that we have, if we're looking here at our assembly, we're going to have a flap valve that's going to be part of the turbine housing. And that flap valve is common to the discharge coming out of the turbine housing, which would go to the downpipe and exhaust system on the car. So as we're running our engine, we have that flap valve able to open and close to regulate how much pressure and flow go through the turbine housing. Effectively, if we're bypassing and we're bleeding off exhaust pressure, exhaust flow, that's going to slow down or speed up that turbine wheel, which will drive that compressor wheel faster or slower. So what we're going to find here is that the way the external or the internal wastegate is going to work is that we have our actuator assembly. That's going to be that kind of round ball looking metal piece that we find here. And inside that's going to be a diaphragm and a rated spring pressure. Now coming out of that actuator is going to be a rod. That rod is going to connect to the flapper valve on that turbine housing. And we'll run a pressure source or boost pressure reference to that actuator. It's going to have a nipple on there. And without any boost control hooked up, we'll find that if the rated spring pressure is, let's say, 8 pounds or 12 pounds or 20 pounds, it should build that much in boost. Now, how is it doing that? Well, that actuator is going to crack open, and that valve is going to open its way up with that swing rod. It's going to move back and forth, so it's going to go and open its way up. It's going to go ahead and open the flapper valve on our turbine housing. So it's going to be preset.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here. And you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.